Good evening from the UK. My name's Alan Duval, the mental health warrior, and I am joined by the fantastic, for the very first time, with Professor Rosalyn Kahn. Welcome.
Oh, thank you. It's such a pleasure and honor to be with you here today, Adam. I just love it.
I know. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Couldn't be better.
Brilliant, brilliant. So, obviously, for the viewers, please tell me who you are, where you're tuning in from, and let's hear your story, because this is what it was about: supporting my mission in ending this stigma. So, I'm gonna throw you a few quick fire questions, and let's see what's what. So I'm gonna say rain or snow.
Say what?
Rain or snow.
Win or snore? I'll go for win.
No, rain, like rain.
Rain?
Snow.
Oh, okay. Rain or snow?
Yeah.
Well, which one do I like better?
Yeah.
Well, I like the snow because you can go out and play in it, where in the rain you get to slip and fall. You can make snowmans, you can have snowball fights, and it just adds such a beautiful picturesque picture when you take photographs. I love the snow. I live in Southern California, so I don't get to see it very much, but when I see it, it's fun.
Brilliant, brilliant. Christmas or Easter?
Well, I would go ahead and pick Christmas because it's one of the biggest holidays here in the United States, and it's about families going ahead and coming together. And, what else happens on Christmas is a lot of people will volunteer and they'll go out and help other people. So there are people who will make Christmas dinners for the less fortunate. There will be people who do charities, and the cops do, tots for kids. And there are all sorts of people coming together. And it's one day of the year that all the employees in the world get to take a holiday.
Yes.
Those here in the United States, I know you in England get lots of holidays, but us, we're limited to the 5 or the 7. So I'd pick Christmas.
Wow. Jazz or pop?
Well, that's a hard one. I'll tell you a story. Way back long ago, when I was in college, I had a friend who was very interested in, I believe it was jazz music. It was some other music other than what I was used to listening to. And I thought it was weird. But, as I grew older, I liked the beat. I liked the movement and so on and so forth. But it's those pop songs that get you up and dancing and shaking and so on and so forth. And, I get to pick both of them.
Brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. And the last one, I'm going to say cats or dogs?
Dogs rule. If you were to go to my LinkedIn page, there is a picture of a young kid who's dressing up a dog with all sorts of blankets and covers and things like that. And I'm an author of a book that's called Dogs and Roses. And there's this one picture where I took my dog and I put my glasses on him and I put clothes on him, and he is so cute. I mean, there's nothing better than a pet dog. Do you know that there are dogs on shortage right now because so many people want them during the pandemic? Dogs listen. They follow your instructions, or even dogs talk to you. There's even a lady whose name was Pia, whose dog helped people find out that they had cancer. I mean, it's amazing the power of dogs. I like that.
Yeah. I'm just going on my phone because obviously we are Facebook Live, so I'm just seeing if there's anyone going to be commenting. So yeah, we have got a few viewers, so please give us a comment. Let us know how you are and how your day's been. So I'm going to start, since obviously it's your first time, so we'll talk about all sorts, and this is what it's about. So let's, for the viewers, just let us know about who you are and how's California.
Well, my name is Rosalyn Kahn. I am a college professor, as it says on the bottom. Today is wrapping up the semester, and I always like wishing my students well. I wanted to post that picture that I saw there of that cute little animal on Instagram page, but I always share with them positivity. And one of the things that my students said as I was reading over their comments is, I was really scared to death of public speaking, and the supportive role that you created in our class is just one of comfort. I now know that I can go out and speak in public. I can do this on my own. I have confidence unlike ever before. And there's one story I want to share that just warms my soul. There's a gentleman in my class, and I've had a lot of people who have been active in the military. And this one student of mine, as he gave his last speech, which was about the dangers that prevail with the reduction of our forces in the military and the military people, I just wrote to him, God, I just wish other people could hear this story, because in my life as a teacher, I want to tell you about the 5 students who've shaped my view of the military. This last guy, whenever you wanted something, he was always there. He was always ready. If you needed an answer, you could call on him and he'd have the answer. If someone needed to volunteer, you would call on him. And, prior to that, my first student that I had in the military was a gentleman. I think it was at it was at Pasadena City College. And his job, I live in Southern California, and one of the biggest bases that they have is in Camp Pendleton, which is down in San Diego. And his job was to give the orders when the people left the base. Right. And it's like, Adam, your turn. Don, your turn. Don, your turn. Okay, man, it's up to you. We're going to wish you well, and we know that you all will come back live and well. And that was his job. And he would drive from Camp Pendleton all the way up to Pasadena, California. And I felt so honored to have this person in my class. The next guy, I only go for the high class guys. I was at Santa Monica College, and there was a gentleman who took pictures of all the important people. And I love photography. And he showed us some of the important people that he was with and the photographs that he had taken. And I was just like blown away. And in the same class, after the class was over, this gentleman sent me a message that said the following. He said, Professor Kahn, I want to thank you for what you've taught me in this class, because my job in the military is I'm the one who brings the flag to the family on their deceased loved one. And it was just that he could go ahead and say that with, how to break that message to the family. There was a kid at Antelope Valley College who I have him do a tribute speech, and it's a speech about someone that's important to you. And what he did is his grandfather, his father, the whole lineage was all in the military, and he brought in all their hats and their caps and their things. And I'm a person who cares about humanity. And so we were talking about Agent Orange and the difficulties that our military have faced when they've gone in and they fought these wars. And I said, I live right down the street from, the Veterans Administration, and you should check them out. And he told me that they don't always do what they say they're going to do, and it's really difficult. And my book on Dogs and Roses helps our veterans, because there was a veteran I met on a cruise, and he told me a sad story about dogs. He said veterans come home and they have dogs, and when they go back out to serve, the dogs are killed because there's no one to take them. Damn. And then there was the guy at LA City College who was a big burly guy, just like you were. And he talked about his fear of swimming and how he had to go out there and overcome his fear. He couldn't get in, and he got in and he did it. And he was a hero. And later on, he had to drop my class because his stories and the memories he had of what was in the military wouldn't leave him alone.
PTSD.
Yeah, but he said, Professor Kahn, I want to thank you. And there was a guy this semester whose name is nameless, and he suffered from depression. And so I referred him to the counseling center. And I said, there's a guy who's going to give you a call. And I said, I want you to confirm that you called them. And he did confirm that he did call them. And he did check in with them. And he dropped out of my class. So I hope he's okay. But, I wrote this piece for a group that I'm in about my book. It's a message for tomorrow's leaders. And it basically says, I don't know if you know Rosalyn the way that I know Rosalyn, but when I heard about this book that she wrote, which is a message for tomorrow's leaders, it's not just a book that she wrote out there. She lives it because she really cares about the future of tomorrow's people. And you've seen evidence of that. And you ask, how do I know? Because I asked to see your kids. And I said, I want to see the kids that you brought in the world. And I want to say hello to them. And there's a kid that I'm going to be interviewing on his show, and he's got a huge show over in England. It's called the Tiberius Show, a 10-year-old. I love kids. I don't have any, but the kids of the world are my children because these are our future leaders. And I'm a humanitarian. On my Instagram page, there's an IGTV, and you can see a 10-year-old. His name is Tyler Gordon. Tyler Gordon is a humanitarian. He's just 12 or 13 years old. This guy is amazing. He's been on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Not only has he been on the Ellen DeGeneres Show, he donates money to dogs, and he helps out the poor people, and he helps out the homeless. This kid has a bigger heart. He just recently came out with his own book. He had time. This kid had time to be in my book, A Message for Tomorrow's Leader. And he says, we don't just help people on special days. We help them on every days. Yeah. And his good friend is named Tyler Gordon. I interviewed Tyler Gordon, the kid who made the painting for the VP of the United States, as he was in California doing a special in an African-American museum. And there was all the big television stations, the Fox, the ABC and NBC. And there was Rosalyn with her IGTV, Community to Unity, sharing to the world what this young, amazing kid had done. And so I'm a humanitarian. I care a lot about people. I want to make the world a better place. If we can all just get along, like Rodney King said, why can't we? So exactly. That tells you about me. I'm sure there's plenty more, but
exactly. So that just leaves me on to when you actually first signed up to teaching these military people. What was your life like before teaching?
Well, it's funny that you say that, because they say that we find our path in life in strange and different ways. When I was in high school, I gave a speech, and it was about the Beatles, and it was Let It Be.
Yeah.
And I somehow got involved in the speech and debate team. Okay. And I just enjoyed it. And when I got out of college, my father said, there's an organization you need to join. This is an important skill. Whatever you need to do, you need to join Toastmasters. And so most people are in Toastmasters for a year or two, and I just received the highest honor that Toastmasters have, which is a distinguished Toastmaster, the highest honor. It took me 20 years. And when I got in Toastmasters, I found that I was an incredible leader, but due to some interpersonal relationships that didn't work out, I took a step back, and I said, if this is so much fun, why don't I go into teaching? And I've been there for almost 2 decades now. And, I have less classes, but to tell you how much I care about my classes, I have this class that's coming up this summer. And one day I put in 10 hours, and I easily put in 15 to 20 or more to teach this class online. You do half online and half face-to-face. And yeah. I love my students so much that one of my previous students is going to come and take a peek at what I've got this summer, because I want to make sure that I made up for all the things that they couldn't do. You've always got to get better. You always got to get better.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's the deal. And I like your questions. I think I'll start that on my summer class. Which do you like better? And I'll listen to the show so I can ask them those questions and get them speaking. One day, a funny thing I did in class is to help them overcome their fear, is I asked them about their pet. Tell me about the name of your pet. Here comes my guy right now. Here comes Casper. Come here, Casper. And they introduced their pet, and I said, congratulations, you've just overcome the fear of public speaking. You've overcome the fear of public speaking. You've done it. You just gave your first speech. Isn't that amazing? And so it's fun. It's fun. Yep.
Absolutely. Because dogs are not just for Christmas, they're for life.
No, they are. Then my dog heard me say pet, and he came right over, and I guess he decided he didn't want to be on camera day. He's kind of camera shy.
Okay. Yeah. The anxiety always wears off.
Yeah, he'll be back soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm just looking at your bio now, and yeah. So let's talk about TEDx.
Everybody likes to hear about that TEDx stuff. It is amazing. I've trained kids for the TEDx. I've trained adults, so I make people's dreams come true. I was just online this morning with someone from LinkedIn, and he says, I want to be on that TEDx stage too. So TED is a place where people's dreams become a reality. You have to share something different, something that people don't often know about. So I'll give you a clue, and I'll tell you about my 3 TED Talks.
Okay.
The first one was called Language Comes to Life, and it's about taking my students to the theater and how it changed the way they learned English. And there's over 3,000 people who viewing it, and I'm sure when you share it with your people, we're going to get up to 5,000 people. The next one is called Coming Around the Curve on my battle with scoliosis and how that made me a more compassionate human being. And the last one was called Breaking Cultural Barriers and how everyone can make a difference. The next one coming up is called Through New Eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to be talking about my perspective on the pandemic and how it's changed me as a human being.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's given us all opportunities.
No, definitely. There's just so many people. It's improved their lives and made it so much better. More time with family, more time to learn about technology. And you know, I'd never heard about this podcast stuff before the pandemic, and now it's like my best friend. I've got all these new friends on they've met on the computer. Whoever would have thought? Would we have ever have met?
No.
No.
And obviously before COVID came along, I didn't even have LinkedIn. I didn't.
Wow. How did people hear about you?
I don't know. I was speaking to someone and they mentioned, "Oh, I'm on LinkedIn." I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" And then I started thinking, I need to get into a mental health business here. So I signed up, and over the year now, I've got over 800 followers.
Wow. That's a step. You're getting up there. Well, you know, you mentioned that you're a mental health specialist. Tell me about that, and I'll tell you some of my expertise in that arena, because I talk a lot about reducing stress. So what do you do in the mental health world?
I help people.
How?
I transform people's lives for the better, because obviously I use my knowledge, my qualifications, and my experience in mental health to help people.
Is most of the people that you help, are they youngsters? Are they adults? What's your best age group?
Very age. They're all ages.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wow, that is cool. Yeah. Well, my books that are written are kind of helping people in that arena, and I do a lot of talks about reducing stress. And
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I'm actually doing another podcast. Well, I do podcasts every Monday morning UK time. And like I've already done a couple already where I've spoken about anxiety. I spoke about self-care just Monday gone, and Monday I'm talking about stress. So yeah.
Oh my God, you'll have to have me come back. I'll have to have you come back. So, well, there we go. So we're talking about stress, and there was a lady in my group that I belong to, this Thrivers group, and she says that she had some high blood pressure, and I said, well, let me tell you some good things you can do. Let me know if this is on your list, Adam. Do you tell people about gratitude? Yeah, if we get down and do gratitude. So this thing I learned in my group today, they said I need to set my timer for 3 times of the day. And so you and I are going to do this right now.
Okay.
Give me 3 things that you're grateful that's happened today. I know you're in the evening and I'm in the morning. So what are 3 things that you're grateful for right now?
3 things: my kids, my life, my family.
Oh, that's cool. That's awesome. Well, 3 things I'm grateful for is my dog, my husband, and my inquisitive mind to always want to learn. And they said that you should set the timer 3 times a day, because we all get bummed out by that little voice inside their head like, Why did it take me 4 times to record that video, and why isn't it done yet? I wanted to get it done. And it takes me about 3 times on everything. So if I stop and I look at the things that I'm grateful for, I got to talk to you. I got to talk to a young kid. I got to talk to this person. I got to talk. And if I just think about the people I talk to, that makes me happy. And the second thing is, when life gets really bad, get up and walk away.
Yeah.
Just go outside. Look at something different.
Exactly.
And then there's the point on breathing.
Oh.
You don't know about the breathing? You haven't heard that one yet?
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
The inhale and exhale. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
breathing technique is the best. Same with meditation as well.
I'm sorry?
Meditation.
Yeah, I did that this morning. I kind of got a little out of the habit, but I got back into it. But I want to tell you about some of the lives I've changed with this mental health, because that's also important to me. So I'm always helping people. There was one lady, and her husband was part of the work that goes overseas and does the work, the NRGs and things like that. And she was the most beautiful, beautiful lady, and she had the most gorgeous, gorgeous kids. And she came to me one day and said, "Teacher, my husband is cheating on me, and me and my kids are now homeless." And I took that as if I was homeless. And, I called up the local community centers and did this and that. And I said, well, let me see what I have in my kitchen and what can I bring to you? And when the semester was over, she wrote me this beautiful letter. And she said, never in my life have I met a person who cares more about people than the care that you showed for me. And it's moments like that when I don't have money and I don't have everything I want, I know that I've touched lives. And if you touch lives, money doesn't really matter.
No.
And so I was back at this other school. Got to keep the name of the school nameless. And there was a student who would come to talk to me every day that a speech was due. And every time she would come up and speak to me. And I remember that she told me that she was on some medication, and she told me she wasn't taking her depression medication. And she didn't like the way it responded and reacted. I said, well, you should get another doctor. You should get someone to help you. And one day she didn't come in. And she always came in. And something in my mind told me that there was something going on. And my intuition said to call the counseling center. And they said, do you think we should have someone go to the house? And I said, yes. And when they went to the house, she had slit her wrist. And if I hadn't had the police knock on the door, she wouldn't be here. And I remember when I was calling the police, there were people knocking on my door, and I said, hold on, something is happening. Hold on, something is happening. And I think someone got mad at me about something I had done or done right or wrong, or I sent the wrong email to the wrong people. And I remember getting a phone call from the chair of my department, and she said, Rosalyn, I apologize for what I said to you. Your student is okay. She's in the hospital, and you saved her life. Mm-hmm. And, I still remember the picture that she sent to me of seeing her at a big hospital here in LA with her hands strapped down. And she came back to class, and, I gave her a chance. And there was this other kid who had issues with me. And so they became their accountability partners. And I sent him off to this speech contest so that she could make up points. And she said, they didn't show up. And I'm like, oh no, what's happening here? But the next contest came, and I made her show up really early. And she did. And I'm like, what are you doing here? She says, well, you told me to come here, so make sure I make it. And when she got up there and she gave that speech, even though she had gout and she was chewing it as she was speaking. I'm like, she gave the speech. She did it. And I remember when the class was over and she came and she thanked me and I asked what she was doing. And she says, I'm going back home to my parents.
Yeah.
And I just want to thank you for what you've gone ahead and done. And then there was this other kid. I have my students write out these things so I can get to know them, which I've stopped. And one of the questions was, something that I asked them. And this kid had written, it was called the Getting to Know You exercise. And he had written that he'd been thrown out of his parents' house in the habit of cutting his wrist. And he was living with his grandmother's house. And I didn't think that was too good. And so I let the authorities know. And they decided for my protection that they put me under observation. And so as I went to each of my schools and each of my classes, the cameras were on me that if I walked to my car, wherever I went, there was someone watching me.
Yeah.
And I wanted to help the person. I didn't want to hurt them. I didn't want him to become another tragedy. But you never know when people have these things, what they're going to say or what they're going to do. And then one night I was giving speeches in another class, and this guy turns to me as we're going through the speeches, and he says, "Teacher, I think I want to kill myself. Class, we're going to take a break right now. Could you just hold on for a quick second here? Just a moment here." Went out, looked out the window, and I said, "Oh, come on, it's not that bad. I mean, isn't it beautiful? Look at that street down there. Isn't that gorgeous? Don't you like the way the lights reflect on the window? I mean, there's so many people who would be missing you if you weren't here." And they later had somebody from the sheriff's department came and talked to the student and this, that, and the other. And everybody has a reason to live. Everybody has a reason. I remember hearing a story. There was one that I posted on my LinkedIn page, and you will like this one, about a guy in some foreign country that there's a famous bridge that people are notorious for going ahead and committing suicide. And this guy goes there each and every day and has saved thousands of people's life by being the voice of the person who wants to be there. So when I go in my classroom and I say good morning, when you can see them face to face, I want every person to look at me and know that they're okay. And on this Skype thing, it's a little on the Hollywood squares. It's kind of hard because most people like to have their cameras off, but you just want to check in on people.
Exactly. So, you've pretty much covered everything I wanted to ask.
Wow, I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. Let's talk about your book.
Sure.
Yeah. So obviously, we can get off Amazon, which is brilliant.
Yep.
And yeah. How are you doing with it?
Well, it's doing pretty well. Most of my advertising has been on podcasts. So let me tell you how the book came about and why I think it's so important. I work at the colleges, and they wanted to, before the pandemic, increase the minority retention in the classroom. And so they had an idea, which was, how do we keep minorities in? And I said, I'm going to bring in amazing people from all walks of life, and I'm going to have them as special guests in my class, and they're going to talk to my kids. Well, I brought the first guy in, whose name was Coach Knock, and he teaches people how to stay fit and fitness and things like that. And I had a whole group of other people. And as time went on, I had them, as society unfolded, it became a study of our world as we were going on. It became an ethnographic study of the world as we were going through a pandemic. I'd ask people, tell me about your job, Andy, and you would tell me about, being a mental health worker and the people that you work with and how you help them. And I'd say, we're going through a pandemic right now. What's your opinion about the pandemic? And there was riots breaking out all over the world. What are the riots like over in England? What do you think about the protests? Do they have value? Do they, you know? And so they went ahead and they answered these questions. And by the time it was done, there were 46 essays. And I wanted to get out in October, but I waited because I wanted to get people like Eric McCoy. You'd like Eric McCoy. Eric McCoy is a former drug addict who goes ahead and has a best-selling book that helps people overcome those drug addictions. And I wanted to get him in there. And there's a guy by the name of Adam Heller, and he has a movie. It's called The Gift of Life. Yeah. And it's a story about the giving of a heart. And there's a person by the name of David Roberti who helps everybody in the world who has problems with drugs and alcohol and addiction that's in the entertainment industry. And, you know, there's a gentleman who wrote the foreword in the book. His name was Jonathan Lightman. He was the head of the California Community College Faculty Association. He suffered from pancreatic cancer. When his wife read the book, she cried. And he said, this book needs to get out to everyone. Everyone needs to read the story. This guy had pancreatic cancer that could have killed him, that most people die in less than 6 months. He went on to live. Every day he would empty his bladder and go in the bathroom and do the things and be in great pain. But he was saving students' lives. He was helping kids stay in college. And he said this book needed to get out to the world. And, you know, there was a person I was talking today who works with a bunch of young kids. And kids, this is a book that'll teach you, if you don't like what you're doing, what else can you do? It's got 46 different careers of different opportunities. That's just absolutely beautiful. You can get it for just $3.97 on Amazon, which is like next to nothing. The book is less than a Starbucks coffee. Yeah. And it's helping people change their lives. And it's just amazing. Everybody who reads, you know, I remember someone who was at one of the events when I was at, and she said, Rosalyn, you're just quite a writer. You have an ability to tell stories. And you've heard my storytelling ability here today.
Yeah, absolutely. So you've covered your story. You've covered your brilliant expertise in teaching. And yeah, all I've got to say is, where can people find you?
Well, here's the beautiful thing. I like to keep things simple. You have Adam Duvall, the ML Moyer. They just need to remember my name. It's right there. You go to Rosalyn Kahn and you can find everything. You go to Instagram, you can see the cute little picture of the animal that I posted today with this beautiful quote. You can see I love nature. I love flowers. I love the outdoors. I like telling people about where I've been, the speeches I've done, and how to help themselves feel better. And you'll see all that on my Instagram page. On YouTube, you will find the videos of all the speeches and presentations I've been on. You'll see the up and coming. Back to the Instagram, there's an IGTV where you'll see some of the videos I've done, and there'll be more that'll be coming out. I'm on Facebook under the name Rosalyn Kahn. I'm on LinkedIn under Rosalyn Kahn. I'm on Twitter under Rosalyn Kahn. And the one thing I'd say is a lot of people like what I post, but tell me how you feel. How do you think? What do you think about that? What's the reaction it gets? Because comments are what makes me go crazy. I love to hear, you know, how people feel about things. What's their reaction? I posted something yesterday that was kind of funny. And I was saying, you know, life is about knowing people, and I'm a people connector. And I wrote 20 different organizations down of how I've been. And I said, I want to know how people know me. And it takes me a while to get back to those posts, but I'd love to see, you know, my connections of where I know people and where they're popping up from, because the world is my oyster. I spent a year traveling and promoting cultural understanding, and everywhere I know somebody. I have some good friends that were over in England, and you can find me, connect with me. I'd love to give people a gift. I sent it to you in my notes. If you go to RosalynKahn.com, which is my web page, and after the RosalynKahn.com, you go ahead and put a / and you go, I think it is Be Kind with the / you can get a download to my first book. And sign up for a session to have 15 minutes with me so I can change your life.
Exactly. And on that note, thank you for coming on.
It's been my pleasure and honor. And I thank Christine for suggesting that the two of us get together.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, I'm loving it. So, yeah, thanks to everyone that's tuned in. If you replay, put replay, and yeah, let's hear you. And on that note, I'm going to end this podcast now. I hope everyone has a fantastic week. And have you got anything else to say, Rosalyn?
Well, I just want to say every day is a blessed and beautiful day. If you look for the great, the beauty, and the brilliance that's out there, it really is. And remember, you never know what the words you say, whose life that you can change. If anybody out there wants to, take their stake about getting on a TED stage, please reach out to me.
Fantastic words. Not. Cheerio.
Cheerio.